Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Come on in, sit down, pull your chair up to the table. We're going to start on highlighting today. We're going to look at the reading part, the sources, and we're going to find what it is that we need to know. What is it that we need to highlight or take notes on? And we're going to show you that step by step. I want to do this, though, in 2 videos, not just one. But like yesterday, since it was so much information and it went longer than I really like it to go, so I'm going to try to go a little bit faster today, but I still want to do it in 2 parts. We're going to set up how we're going to do this, talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to go into the actual test itself and do it so that you can see what it looks like, okay? So without further ado, let's dive in. So, as I said, today is part 1 of 2. This is session 5. I made a little bit of a mistake, I think, yesterday in the numbering, but today is session 5. We'll do sessions 5 and 6 for day 2 highlighting, okay? I want to review a little bit, though. What were we doing in day 1? What should you have been practicing since the last time you watched the video? Well, we were supposed to know what to review and what to read. And I told you, I want you to focus on day 1, that first day you open the performance task and you're looking at it for the very first time. You're not filling in any blanks. You're just looking at directions. What is it that the test takers want you to do? And I gave you a little hint, a little clue to kind of remember what is it that you're looking for. And we looked at sat. I sat and now know the directions. I know the directions because I sat. Well, what is sat? That was just a kind of a silly way to remember it, but it's setting, action words, and type of paper that you're supposed to write. Setting is the pretend circumstance or condition that the test takers are kind of getting you to imagine. You're in a classroom, you're doing a project, and this is what you're going to do the paper on. So that's the setting. That's the thing you want to keep in the back of your head as we move through the paper. Am I writing as if I am doing this in a classroom for whatever the setting might be? The other thing is that you want to do the action words. You want to highlight those. You want to mark those. You want those to be very clear because you don't want to miss any directions, anything that you have to do. Then that's what these action verbs are. These are do this, like describe, write, explain, discuss, compare. All these action words, these things, these commands that they're trying to tell you to do are the things that you need to be sure you do before you close and submit your test, right? Last one is type. Type of paper. What kind of paper am I writing? Am I supposed to write a narrative, which means I got to tell a story? Am I supposed to persuade my writer? So I got to kind of convince the reader of my paper that I'm right, that my opinion is right. Or is it informative? I'm trying to teach. I'm trying to inform. Lots of different ways to write papers. I need to know which one I'm supposed to write if I'm taking this test. So sat, I sat and know the directions. Once that's done, we actually went into the test itself, the practice test, and I hope you did that. Did you do that? I hope you did that. I hope you went in and actually practiced looking at the directions, looking at how they lay out setting and the action verbs and words, the things that they want you to do. And where do you see them? Where do you find those things? And then what kind of paper are they asking you to write? If you find all those things on day 1, the only thing that the directions usually ask you to do on day 1 is to briefly scan, that's another action verb, briefly scan or look at the different sources, the different readings that you're going to have to come back on day 2 and look at. Okay? So that's what we did. We looked at the directions that were with the reading part, and that was on the left side of your paper. On the right side, you would also see like the very first part 1 little questions. that only required you to have a little answer, maybe check some boxes. And if you don't remember that, go back and watch the second video from yesterday again, okay? But that's that one. And from there, you can look at the action verbs in those as well. So once you get to the question part, the actual questions, that you know what you need to do. So you can do both, okay? But everything on day one is about directions. And then if you want to, if you have some time, you're not too tired, then just give a brief scan, look at what sources are there on the things that you're going to have to read, okay? So when it comes to day 2 now, you've gone home, you've rested, you've got good sleep, you've come back, you still got a good mindset, you have an idea of what it is you're going to have to do on this task, this test. Day 2, you're probably coming in and doing one of the math CAT tests. It's just a bunch of problems, and you get them done. It's usually doesn't take too long. It's finished. You're done. Now you can go back into the ELA performance task, that essay part that you were looking at yesterday, and you're going to open it up again. This time, day 2, you're highlighting. But what should I highlight? Do you know? Well, I think one of the first things we need to find out is, what is highlighting used for? Why are you highlighting the reading part? These articles and things like that. What is that for? How does that do anything for you taking this test? Well, let's take a look. One of them is that it helps you find information later very quickly. You don't want to have to read these things again and again, 5, 6 times throughout the course of taking this test. You want to read it a couple times. That's a good idea. But once you have a good idea of what's in the articles, you just want the key ideas, the main ideas, and you want to be able to find them while you're doing your writing very fast. And that's one thing that highlighting allows you to do. Other thing that it does, it helps you connect ideas with the different sources. Remember, part of this test is you're going to have to, when you do you answer the question or you're writing your essay, you want to know this piece of information, this idea, is connected to source 1. Well, maybe it's source 1 and source 2, or maybe it's source 3 only. Whatever it is, the idea needs to be connected to the source. And that's another thing that highlighting helps you be able to connect. Another one is it helps you remember important details. You're doing this across 5 days. So on day 1, you're focusing mostly on directions, maybe a brief read of some of the articles. Day 2, now you're going into the articles, like what we're talking about now. We're highlighting main ideas. But by day 3, day 4 is when you're writing your big essay. That by day 4, you may not remember all of every single itty bitty detail that you read back here on day 2. So the highlighting is a way of going back to your sources again, back to those articles, and just reading the things you highlighted and going, oh, now I remember what that article's all about. That's what highlighting also helps you do. It also does one last thing, and that is it allows you to save time. Rather than getting to day 4 and now you're ready to write and you have to constantly look back as you're writing this thing out, everything is pretty much highlighted. You just go and you know exactly where it is. You got another thing you want to talk about, right there. You know exactly where it is because you can see the highlights. And that saves a lot of time. It also saves a lot of frustration because if you have to go back and forth, that can get really tiring and you can get really frustrated very fast. We don't want you to get frustrated. So those are the things that highlighting is used for. So now we can say, all right, so what should we highlight, Mr. Wilson? Well, let's talk about those. One, you want to highlight the source number. And we're going to talk about, when we go into video 2, we're going to look at how to do this. You want to highlight the source number. And you also want to highlight the title and the author, if an author is given, author of the particular source that you are reading. You want to separate each source out, okay? And I'll show you how to do that. In the actual reading, the articles themselves, you want to highlight any key ideas. Now, what's a key idea? Well, key ideas could be special details. It could be main ideas or events, important events. It could be facts, numbers, data. It could be anything that really sticks out to you. You're reading, you go, oh, I didn't know that. That is really cool. You know, like capuchin monkeys are used as like emotional support animals. They come in and they'll play with you and they'll give you little hugs and give you little love. And it helps people that may have problems, like maybe they have some depression or something like that. They're feeling sad. And the capuchin little monkey comes in, and I can't make a capuchin monkey sound, I'm sorry. But they come in and they can do it. That's kind of interesting. That's cool. That sticks out. I'm going to highlight that. So special details, events, ideas, facts, and anything that sticks out to you. That's what we're really looking at highlighting. Okay? That's what's going to be all in the highlighting so that we don't have to find it. So just like we did on the directions, where you have the highlights on the directions, we're going to do the same thing on the reading. Now, there's two ways you can do, actually there's three. There's three ways you can do highlighting. One is you can do it online, just like we did the directions, where you're using the little button and you're highlighting what you want, et cetera, et cetera. And if you are comfortable using that, I strongly recommend it. Use it, okay? But there's another way. Some of us are old school. We like pencil and coloring crayons and colored pens, and we want to put it on actual paper. And I told you yesterday, I told you during day one video, that you can have your own scratch paper. You can put the scratch paper on the side and you can make your notes and you can write it and you keep it. Just make sure you put your name on the paper, okay? So your teacher will collect it, or your parents can set it off to the side so that you have it for day 3 when you come back when we're doing outlining. So it can be anything. It could be vocabulary. It could be the things that maybe you highlighted all in the deal. Maybe you want to do both. That's your third way. You can do online. You can do the highlighting on the text, and you can do things on the side in your own handwriting, in your own, and whatever you want to do on the side, okay? Now remember, keep this in mind. The paper on the side needs to be collected when you stop looking at the test, okay? When you stop looking at the test, the paper's not there for you to go online someplace else and do a lot of research. That's a no-no. That's cheating. What you want to do is you want to leave it there, put all your information from the reading into your notes, and then put the notes away for the night. When you come back to the following day, you bring the notes back out and you use just what's on the notes and what you've highlighted in the actual test. Okay? Be honest. Have integrity. That's important. So you can do both. You can use both. And that's kind of where we're going to go in our next video when we look at highlighting part 2 and go actually inside the test and do some highlighting. Okay? And maybe I'll do a special video just on what you could do taking notes on the side. But I don't think I'm going to do that one in our next one. I think we're going to do just the online, what you would do online. Okay? So without further ado, enjoy yourself. Go take a quick break. Come back and we'll do session 6, part 2 of 2. See ya.